Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Jonathan Voico.
Hey, went to Ray's shot by muscle memory.
Chris Carr's here.
Hey, guys.
Ray Ora is still not here. He'll be back on Monday, though, and he is recovering, and he will be just fine. Don't worry about it.
We will. Focus ring.
Oh, did I lose my focus?
Yeah.
Let me see my one shot. Okay, this will.
Yeah, we had some internet issues at the beginning, and the camera was off. So
yes,
yeah,
we
but
did
now we're
stuff.
good.
Yes,
there we go.
We ran into some problems, but now we are up and running. And here's how this totally up and running, fully operational battle station of a show will go today. We're going to start off by talking about a bunch of predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a live comment or question to ask, go ahead and use our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. Send it on in. As long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show, we will answer and address your question. Now, the best part about this tip link is the fact that it is good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which means if you're watching this show later on in the evening when we're not live, you can also send in a question and we'll just get around to it on our next episode. All right, guys. It's Friday. By the way, tonight, super excited. Going to the Hollywood Bowl tonight.
That is going to be so fun.
I am so excited for this. The LA Philharmonic is putting on a concert called the Infinity War Saga, where they are going to be playing over 2.5 hours, key scenes and moments in Marvel's Infinity Saga on the big screens, and then playing the music live along with it.
Oh, fun.
I love these sorts of shows and concerts. I'm so excited for it. Hopefully some of you guys are going to be able to go out to it. If you see me, come on by and say hi. And with that down, guys, let's get into it, shall we? We're going to start off with this. Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power Season 2 has dropped. And you know what? I watched all 3 episodes. Significantly better than Season 1.
Great.
Now, look, for those of you who may not know, a little bit of background, a little bit of context. I was so excited for Season 1, like it was beyond belief how excited I was for Season 1. And frankly, and I made a video about this a long time ago, I just about tapped out after 1 episode. And I made it all the way through. There were some good episodes, don't get me wrong. There were a couple of episodes that were better than others and things like that. But overall, for me, the season ended up being a disappointment. And because of that disappointment, I really haven't had any excitement about watching Season 2. Now, the trailers that came out of Comic-Con were amazing. Full credit where credit's due. So I really didn't know what I was getting myself in for, sitting down to watch the first 3 episodes of Season 2 last night. And I'm going to say this. I do not love the show. Don't love it.
Okay.
But it is significantly better than the first season. And I was telling Jonathan this a little bit earlier. I could tell I was enjoying it more because at the end of each episode of Season 1, I was like, 4 more episodes to go. 3 more episodes to go. Whereas I legitimately, when each of the first couple of episodes would end, I would legitimately go, great, let's load up the next episode.
Always a good sign.
Great, let's load up the next episode. And then when I finished the 3rd episode, I was like, oh, that's it. I'm all the way through. Oh, all right, I guess I got to wait till next week. That's significantly different than it was last year. And I think one of the biggest improvements for me for this season over last season was I'm going to say the word because it's the best word I know how to describe it, and then I'll elaborate. The tightness of it. Last season, I felt like every other scene was completely unnecessary. Like they would literally have scenes where either A, nothing would happen, B, we wouldn't learn anything new, or C, it was only covering ground that's already been covered in another scene.
Yeah, they went in circles.
Yeah.
It's like, we figured this out.
Right.
Move forward.
There was some kind of obligation to make sure we saw every little group, and you don't need to do that.
No. And I found with the first 3 episodes
Especially
of this season,
little Harfoots.
that is a much improved element. I felt like not every scene was a banger, but every scene when it ended, I could go, I know why that scene was there. And the next scene was, that's why that scene was there. And just on that basis alone, it's like, it makes the show like 50% better. And I can't quantify this, so I might be wrong. I'm just saying how it felt to me.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like we weren't jumping around nearly as much as we were last season.
A little more focused.
A little bit more focused, more purpose in every scene. I thought the dialogue was better than last. And that last season had some scenes that had some terrific dialogue. But I mean, overall, it wasn't a strong point of the show. This season, I feel like it's stronger. I feel like scenes are shorter because they're tightening them up a bit. And I'm finding myself far more engaged with what's going on. Here's a great example too. There's a scene that's not important, I don't think, to the overall story of Rings of Power, but it picks up with the bickering father and son of Durin. And there's something that happens in it. And I'm just going to share what happens. It's not significant, but you know, the father and the son, they aren't talking to each other. And Disa, Durin's wife, happens to be in the king's throne room because they're addressing an issue of state. And everybody leaves, and the king is like, Disa, would you stay behind? And he's trying to get his problems worked out with his son through his son's wife. I live that every day. Anne is like, my wife Anne is like the de facto John ambassador to the Campea family. Because I feel like a lot of times when my family needs something from me, they will reach out to Anne. And it just, because I'm like any father. I've bickered with my father. I've bickered with my dad. And it's often my wife who will then play go-between. Like my dad will talk to her or whatever, and then she'll come talk to me. And it's like, there's this, it just felt so real.
Yeah.
It felt so relatable. And even though they're dealing with the mountain is coming down, it still takes time to deal with these issues of a father and a son are just struggling with how to figure out how to get along because they love each other. There's something about that was very, very special to me. And so while I am not sitting here saying that I love this show now, I'm not there yet. I'm not even ready to say that this is a great show. I am not there yet. I'm not even quite sure how good of a show I'm willing to say it is.
Lord of the Rings, I'm not there yet.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings, I'm not there yet. But it is I will say it is a completely different viewing experience for me now compared to a couple of years ago as I was plodding my way through season 1. And I can honestly say I'm looking forward to next week. I'm looking forward to it. Again, it's nowhere near in the same stratosphere as House of the Dragon or stuff like that. But if you can continue to go in the right direction, if they can continue to identify the things that didn't work and the stumbles they made and correct those and try to improve upon them, it's early to say this, granted, but I'll say it. I mean, there could be a bright future for this show if they continue on doing these sorts of things. Now, for all I know, I'm going to sit down and watch episode 4 next week. And I'm going to go, I'm out. For all I know, right? Yeah. I don't know. But for right now, it's a significantly better show to me than it was last year. Anyway, Chris, you're a huge Lord of the Rings fan. They dropped 3.5 hours of content on it. How does it compare for you, the stuff you've been able to watch so far, compared to because I know you were pretty disappointed with last season as well.
Yeah, I didn't love it.
How did you feel about what you saw now compared to what you saw last year?
I'm intrigued. So I only got 1.5 episodes into this because your girl went to Italy for a couple Negronis and then watched this before I went to bed. So I really enjoyed what I saw. I liked picking up with all the Sauron stuff at the beginning. I think that was really interesting. I love that we're also seeing people like Elrond, like Durin, skeptical.
Yeah.
Because that's always been one of the things of, we all just go along with some magical rings. That seems way too good to be true in a place filled with magic and that used to have an evil overlord. I like that we're seeing those kinds of moments in here. It does feel like they're taking things a bit more seriously. There's a darker tone to this season overall. It's not as shiny. We are seeing some of the chinks in the armor, if you will, of what Sauron's plot is and how that's affecting the elves, how that's affecting the dwarves. Everyone wants a golden ticket, and I like that exploration of this.
Yeah.
Right? I love when we see people's desperation and how they're willing to ignore things that seem like red flags, because that's a very human thing. We all do that. We want the easiest thing to be the answer, and I like that exploration that they seem to be going on in this season. I also, like you, I'm really happy that we're not obligatory pinging to other scenes. I did not enjoy that, and that was one of the things I didn't like in the last season was I don't need to know about these people right now. It's the same scene over and over again.
Yeah.
I get it. Your audience is smarter than this. For people in the chat, that's Theo. If you're watching the show, that's the character. We had so many people in the chat going, "Who's that kid? He's on the show that we're talking about right now, you guys."
Yeah. He's also Ray's
relevant.
most
Ray
loathed character,
hates him.
so I placed him in Ray's placeholder
Yeah,
today.
he's awful. But
He has what you call resting stupid face.
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I do, and I am enjoying his relationship to Isildur. I think that's a fun thing to do with this character because for a long time too, I was like, I don't understand the point of Theo. I don't know why Bullcut is here aside from making all of us angry. And I think that's we're getting a little more reasoning for him being here.
Yeah. Again, and look, and the general response has been much better too. Right now, it went up because yesterday here it was at like 80 something percent. It's gone up to 92. And by the way, I've read through all the reviews. Very, very few of that 92 say they love it, but they're pretty much all, including the ones that didn't like it so far, saying it is an improvement. And of course, the audience score is sitting at 70% right now. I mean, so again, is this must-watch TV? As of right now, I would say no, but damn, it's a much more enjoyable experience for me because I don't feel like it's a labor to watch it like I did last year.
Yeah.
Last year when I was sitting down and watching episodes, it felt like this is work. I have to sit down and get through this. Last night, I was loading up the next episode because I wanted to load up the next episode. And if they can keep going in that direction, maybe we're in for some good stuff. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Have you had a chance to watch the first 3 episodes of Rings of Power Season 2? If so, what did you think? Regardless of whether you liked it, didn't like it, whatever, do you think, like we do, that it's at least an improvement over last season? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. Robert Patrick, who of course was the liquid metal Terminator, and he was White Dragon, Peacemaker's dad, what a dick, in Peacemaker Season 1, is apparently returning for Peacemaker Season 2. Now, if you're like me, you wonder, that's funny. I guess he got over that bullet to the head.
Yeah, he healed.
You know, he heals, but whatever. But he is saying now himself that he has actually been doing shooting for Peacemaker Season 2. This comes to us from Popverse, who write the following. During a spotlight panel at Tampa Bay Comic-Con, Robert Patrick casually revealed that he had just done some filming for Peacemaker Season 2. I was with John Cena on Friday. We're filming Season 2, Patrick revealed. This is in line with an Instagram story that DC Studios co-president James Gunn posted on Friday, indicating that he had just filmed a scene with Patrick and Cena. At another point in the panel, Patrick praised James Gunn, saying, I was just working with James Gunn on Friday. James is amazing. He's one of the most talented people I've met in my life. Incredible mind and just a wonderful human being. I love him and his wife, Jennifer Holland. We were doing a big scene for the second season of Peacemaker on Friday right before I came here. All right. So for those of you who may not know, Peacemaker is one of those things that I thought was a really bad idea. I hated the trailers. I thought it looked cheap and pathetic and awful. And I today think it's the best television show DC has ever produced. I've never been more entertained by it. All due respect to Smallville and Arrow. I love all those shows, but I mean, I think Peacemaker is the best thing they've ever done. That's just my opinion, whatever. So I guess there's a couple of possibilities here with Robert Patrick coming back. Number one, and I think this is the least likely. With this now being the new DCU and not the DCEU, it is possible that while this is season 2 of Peacemaker, they may make some changes from season 1. They could find a way to say, no, Peacemaker never killed his dad in the first season. I don't think that's what they're doing. That seems like a difficult route to go, but it is conceivable that they're saying like, okay, in this universe, that never happened. They could be going that way. Possibility number 2 is that this is a comic book superhero universe. There's lots of ways to bring people back from the dead. And so it would not be completely shocking or surprising to me if we found out, one of the alien creatures brought him back to life, or something else comes along, or his soul was just so dark that hell spit it back up. I mean, I don't know. There are ways they can do that. So that's a second possibility. The third possibility, which I think is the most likely, although I wouldn't say it's a guarantee, is that it's Dexter speaking to his dead dad, Harry. It's all in his imagination. Remember, after he killed his dad, he does have a vision of his dad berating him and all that kind of stuff. And it could be that that's exactly what's going to be going on here, that Robert Patrick is back as a figment of his imagination. Now, maybe it's a Ghostbusters situation. Maybe he is actually physically back. Maybe he never died in the first place. But right now I'm thinking that the most likely thing is that he continues to be a thought that haunts him. The disapproval of his father, the anger of his father against him, I think, and that just playing tricks in his imagination. That's the way I think it's going to go. But I don't know. Like Robert Presser in the live chat is saying, no, he's definitely a ghost. Maybe he's a ghost. Could be a ghost. Who knows? Chris, Robert Patrick's coming back.
Yeah.
What do you think about him coming back in general? And how do you think they're going to accomplish this? What do you think they're doing here? What's the mechanism?
I love him coming back because this guy is such a dick.
He's such a dick.
A good job of being such a dick. I love it. He does a great job in this. I do think this is going to be a psychological element into the show, where this is going to be something that just lives rent-free in Peacemaker's head. And he is going to be thinking about his dad, and his dad's going to be belittling him constantly. And we'll have that. And he's also going to be dealing with the guilt of taking his dad out and all those other things. That being said, it is a comic book universe. It's DC Comics. If they wanted to, Dad could have his body thrown into a Lazarus pit. Some weird science thing over at Star Labs could resurrect him. All kinds of things are built into these universes so that no one is ever permadead. So there's a lot of ways you could actually bring him back. It's just for the reality of this show, it makes the most sense to me to do something that's just in his head. But who knows? Maybe there's alien tech from those weird little butterfly guys. Then they went, hey, this racist seems like somebody we should hang out with again. Bring him back.
I mean, what if, like, we get a flashback to that scene where Peacemaker shoots him in the head, and then it comes back like an hour later after everybody's gone to see his body laying on the ground, and slowly his body starts to melt into liquid metal, and he reforms, and it's a giant Terminator DCU crossover.
Nice. That'd work.
John, I mean, yeah, I'm just saying, possibility. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Robert Patrick himself has confirmed that he is back for Peacemaker Season 2, but in what capacity? Ghost, resurrected, never died in the first place, figment of imagination. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still got to talk about a couple things, including Beetlejuice's box office projection for its opening weekend has just gone up again. And considering that we covered the other day, you know, the movies that deserve to do so much better, I had a bunch of people asking, well, what do you think of the worst movies of the year? We're going to talk about what we think are the worst movies now that we're 2/3 of the way through the year and we're heading into that part of the year where a lot of the bigger and best movies are coming. We're going to discuss those things and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second to thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Gametime and Miracle Made. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Gametime. My wife Ann and I love going to events, whether they're comedy shows, concerts, an LA Lakers game. I mean, just the other night we went to go see Ronnie Chang and it was awesome. We love having these new experiences and new memories. And our sponsor Gametime makes getting tickets for concerts and events faster and easier, even if you don't buy tickets right away. Because prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer you get to the show start time. With killer last minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying event tickets. I couldn't believe how easy and most importantly, intuitively, the entire app works. Finding the event I was looking for couldn't have been easier. The way it lays out the map of the venue, letting you know exactly where the seats are that you're looking for, and how easy the process was to choose and buy those tickets. So don't worry if you think you're too late to get tickets to that big event you and your friend want to go to. They have last minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever. So guys, take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code CAMPEA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CAMPEA, CAMPEA, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Miracle Made. Guys, it's hot outside and your nighttime bedroom temperature has a huge impact on your sleep quality. So if you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA and use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. There are just so many things that make these sheets so fantastic. We already mentioned the self-cooling properties for better quality sleep, but they're also self-cleaning. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. So go to trymiracle.com/Campea. That's TRYMIRACLE.com/Campea to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code Campea at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Campea and use the code Campea to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Campea to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. And thank you to our friends at Gametime and Miracle Made for sponsoring today's episode. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Beetlejuice. I believe it's coming out next week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, they kind of shocked the world when the box office projections came out, and they were saying $65 to $80 million opening weekend, which would be huge. Then they adjusted to like 80 to 90. Now they're saying this thing can get up to $95 million on its opening weekend. This comes from the folks over at Slash Film who wrote the following. Beetlejuice 2, or Beetlejuice, is currently looking at an opening in the $81 to $94 million range when it hits theaters next week's per box office theory. Warner Brothers, for what it's worth, is being a little bit more conservative with their studio estimating that Beetlejuice 2 will have a debut of $65 to $75 million per The Hollywood Reporter. Now, this should also kind of be mentioned. You're seeing a bunch of people, John, wait a minute. I thought I heard people today saying it's 105 million. There is one single other box office tracking thing that is saying it could be up to $105 million. Most of the ones are saying around 95, but again, anywhere from 80 to $105 million. Now, I want you to put this into context. The original Beetlejuice made $75 million. Not in its opening weekend. Made about $75 million. Also want to put this in context. That if Beetlejuice makes upwards of the top end of that range that they're talking about, it will become the 3rd biggest opening movie of the year. Only behind, obviously, Deadpool and Wolverine, which is in the $200 million something range. And Inside Out 2, which is currently the #1 movie of the year, that made about $150 million on its opening weekend. This is crazy. Like, this is crazy. I knew there was going to be interest in Beetlejuice. If you had said to me a year ago, John, do you think Beetlejuice could even conceivably, a Beetlejuice 2, make $100 million on its opening weekend? I would have said no. Even after watching the trailers that I think have been pretty good, like they've been better than I thought they would be, I still wouldn't have guessed $100 million. Again, it still may not make $100 million, but the fact that it's even going to get close, I think is massive.
Mm-hmm.
This would be a huge, phenomenal win. This thing makes $90 million opening weekend. I think that blows away any expectations anybody had just 6 months ago. So clearly the trailers have been connecting. The nostalgia factor is working. Michael Keaton is beloved. All this kind of stuff. So everything seems to be coming together. Now, how big or small it will be, I don't personally think it'll get the 100 million, but I think it'll be close. And I think it's going to be way bigger than I thought it would be. But anyway, Chris, you're seeing these numbers. Warner Brothers is saying more conservative. They're saying 65 to 75. I think they're just kind of playing it safe a little bit. How big do you see it coming in, and how big of a deal are these estimates?
Oh, I think this is going to be huge. I think it's going to be a very, very strong opening weekend for them. I think the 100 is a very, very good estimate. Not only did this get actually well received at the Venice Film Festival, which I know there's always a 5 to 10 minute standing ovation for every film, and then we find out that all the critics don't like it, but we're just being weirdly polite. I don't understand that part of it, but this actually got some great feedback, and people are excited about this movie, not just because of the nostalgia factor, which is a huge part of this. I know people in my age group are really, really jazzed about this. They love this. They love Michael Keaton. They love Winona Ryder. You've got Jenna Ortega, who is a big rising star, and I think that also adds to this. You got Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah, she's very hot right now.
Right? And the Catherine O'Hara coming off of Schitt's Creek and everything. People still love her. Even Argyle couldn't sour us on her. She's wonderful. So I think there's a lot of great factors here in their favor, and it just looks fun. This looks super, super fun. Oh my gosh, and William Dafoe is in this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And how good does he look in it, too?
Oh my gosh, killer. I'm so excited about this. And it doesn't seem like an unnecessary sequel, you know? And I know that no sequel is necessary.
Sure.
But this feels like they actually had something they wanted to tell. And from the trailers, it feels like that story is being executed in a really fun and interesting way that pays homage to the original film while we get to go on this new adventure with new characters.
You know, I've said for long, and I still believe this, I do, that this is a movie that's coming about 15 years too late. But to your point, the story of it now focusing around Winona Ryder's daughter seems like a more sensible story to tell for its sequel, in which case you needed to wait this many years to come about it, right? So like I've been going around saying, and I still believe it's coming late. I think this movie could have been bigger had it come out sooner, but an argument against my own point is that, well, for this story seems to make sense for it. And for them to do this story, they probably needed to wait a little bit longer for it. So it's looking like it's going to be pretty big. Guys, the question is for you. What do you think about that? Are you planning on going to see Beetlejuice? Sounds like a lot of you are. Do you think it can hit that $100 million mark? I mean, even if it doesn't, this is huge for this movie. Massive. Probably going to be the third biggest opening of the year. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? We're going to talk for a second here about, now that we're 2/3 of the way through the year, about to hit September, we're getting in now into the award season stretch, but, you know, we did this video the other day about the movies that have come out this year that deserve to do so much better than they did. That, combined with the fact that we've been talking about Borderlands recently, and I've been saying, you know, Borderlands is not the worst movie of the year, to which I've had so many people write to me say, well, John, then what are the worst movies of the year? So I thought, being a Friday, being that we're heading into September, then we would take a minute here and I would talk about my top 5 worst films of the year. Now, I want to point out, we're talking about larger scale films. We're not talking about, I'm sure I could come up with 100 other terrible films, but we're talking about small little indie films that never saw the light of day. We're talking about big major films. And I'm going to give you what the 5 worst films of the year are. Then we're going to hear from Chris. Let Jonathan throw in some thoughts. We'll hear from you guys. But here's my 5 worst films of the year so far. Coming in at number 5, and this is going to surprise some people because I know there's a bunch of people who like this film. But Ghostbusters Frozen Empire to me was horrible.
Ooh.
You know what? When I first saw it, I said, well, it's okay, because I thought the first 2 acts were abysmal. But I said, I think the third act kind of saves it a bit. Yeah, I watched it again. The third act didn't save it. It's a terrible movie. And I say this as somebody who absolutely loved Ghostbusters Afterlife. I loved that movie. And so I was so excited for this one, but it was dull. It was drab. It committed the same sin as that all-female Ghostbusters movie did, which was it just relied completely on member berries. Like, homages and some nostalgia here and there is good, but it was just like, it's just relying on it. And it's like, have none of these characters learned anything in the last couple of years? Have none of these characters evolved at all? And even the big ultimate threat, it made no logical sense. And so I think this is going to be the most controversial one on the list because I know there's a bunch of people who like the film. And if you like the film, awesome. I celebrate that you liked it. I wish I liked it too because I loved Afterlife so much. But to me, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is the number 5 worst movie of the year. Going into number 4, the aforementioned Borderlands. Again, I said I don't think it's the worst film of the year. I think there are 3 others that are worse. But it's not good. This is so not a good movie. And I say that from the perspective of it has absolutely nothing to do with how true or not true it is to the video game. I don't give 2 squirts of piss whether or not it's true to the video game or not. I could give a flying fuck. All I care about is, did you make a good movie? And this is not a good movie. This is a bad, and you got Academy Award winners in this film. You got arguably the second greatest actress of all time in Cate Blanchett in this movie. You've got Academy Award winner Jamie Lee Curtis, who is an icon and fabulous and all this kind of stuff. And you know, I forget the little girl's name, but she was really
Ariana Greenblatt.
Greenblatt, right? Totally charming and lovable in this movie. I had no problem with her and all that kind of stuff. But it's just that the story was so bad and the dialogue was so bad. It had its moments. It had its moments. Plenty enough so that to me, it's not the worst movie of the year. But it's still bad enough for me that it is on the list. So my number 4 worst movie of the year is Borderlands. All right. So what 3 movies, pray tell, did I think were worse than Borderlands? Well, let's start with that. At my number 3 worst movie of the year, a movie I actually had some excitement for, The Strangers Chapter 1. Dear God. Listen, morbid horror can work if you make it thrilling. There was nothing thrilling about this movie. It was just these horrible, stupid, awful people doing horrible, stupid, awful things to other stupid, horrible people. I mean, well, maybe that was pushing it too far. But there is
kind of how I felt about Rings of Power Season 1.
There you go. Absolutely no thrills, no tension, no suspense, never wondering what happens next. I didn't care. I literally did not care what happened to any of these people on screen. It was such a poorly, brutally executed movie that it takes the number 3 spot on my list. So far, to recap, my number 5 worst movie is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. My number 4 worst movie is Borderlands. My number 3 is The Strangers Chapter 1. My number 2 is a movie I was beyond excited about because it was being made by a filmmaker I really like with content matter that I really liked and a cast that I loved, including my boy, Henry Cavill. Argyle. Sack of shit is too kind of a phrase to address to this movie. This is not only the worst movie that the director has ever done, that Henry Cavill has ever done, that Sam Rockwell has ever done, that Howard has ever done, that Samuel Jackson has ever done. This is just and at every moment, every new scene, I think, well, at least we've hit rock bottom now. And then the next scene would happen and it would be even worse. I'm sorry, are they ice skating on a steel floor? But John, it's covered in oil. That's not how it works. How could a movie that looks so good be so incredibly bad? The twists were terrible, and then they added twists on top of the twist to make it seem like, ooh, look how cutting edge we are. No, you're just cutting throats. You're awful. You're terrible. You should go away and die. I'm talking about the movie, not anybody involved with it. It was so bad, and it broke my heart because Henry deserved better. And so Argyle is my number 2 worst film of the year. Just a horrible, horrible garbage film. That leads us into our number one. The number one worst film of the year. Is there any surprise? Is there anybody out there that cannot guess what our worst film of the year is? Our worst film of the year is Madam Web.
I thought this was going to be a trick question.
Now, there are going to be some people. John, where's Rebel Moon? Oh, Rebel Moon would be on this list. I'm not counting Netflix films.
Oh.
I'm not counting Netflix.
It's almost my entire list.
Right? And that's fine. That's fine. But believe you me, if any of these, if I was counting movies I did not see in theaters, I would have Rebel Moon on this list. I would absolutely have Rebel Moon on, but I'm not. So I got to be fair. Rebel Moon, no. Madam Web. I remember
Life
about
Before Madam Web.
3 or 4 months after I saw it in theaters, I decided, because it came out on streaming, and Anne hadn't seen it yet, and I was like, it can't be as bad as I'm remembering it being. I'm going to watch it again. It was worse. How this movie, like you take a movie like Argyle, it executed terribly, but you know what? I could see why it got greenlit. Like if I was looking at it on paper and thinking about that movie in theory, it could have turned out to be something. I don't see how Madam Web ever got a green light. There should have been 75 points of failure where somebody in that studio went, this is a problem. And then in the next scene, that's a real problem. And then in the next scene, oh, no audience is going to buy this. And there were like 75 points of failure that anybody with a spine at Sony should have been able to stand up and say, no, we cannot greenlight this movie until these things get fixed. These are clearly terrible and completely awful. Now, as my special mention, my honorable mention, I will throw in there Rebel Moons Part 1 and 2. Truly 2 of the worst films I've seen in years. Again, I don't qualify them for my list because I did not see them in theaters. It was a Netflix movie, all that kind of stuff. But I still at least have to give them a mention as some of the worst cinema I've ever seen in my life. I don't think Rebel Moon joins my unholy trinity of Battlefield Earth, Highlander 2, and Catwoman, which I still contend are the 3 worst wide-release Hollywood-produced films of all time. But man, Rebel Moons 1 and 2, give them a run for their money. They're so awful. So for me, these are the worst films I think we've had so far this year. Chris, how does your list look?
Well, I've got a lot of the same as you because I've got Madam Web and Argyle on here because Argyle did just infuriate me.
So infuriating.
To quote my friend Mia Topalian, I hate this movie. I'm mad it was made. I'm mad at everyone in it, and everyone should be punished.
They should all be punished.
And I went, it can't be that bad. And it was. It was
so bad.
It was so terrible. Madam Web, obviously not a great movie. It serves as a beautiful 2000s time capsule of what superhero movies used to be.
Right.
But
that's a very good description.
It's an even worse version of them.
Yeah.
But still, it still is like, oh yeah, this is what we kind of used to do. And then I've got all Netflix on here because I figured you guys wouldn't go into that just so we wouldn't have redundant lists. All right. Mother of the Bride with Brooke Shields and Miranda Cosgrove.
I just remember seeing the trailer for that and I thought this has to be a joke. Why would anybody watch this? But I never heard anybody talk about it. Was it that bad?
So bad. Everyone is in a different movie. Benjamin Bratt is fighting for his life to just do something good. And the entire time you're like, you're great. Why are you here? He is in a very different film. It's awful. Another one, similar vein, is Lindsay Lohan's Irish Wish. Many of you may have seen my husband ranting about this video on the internet. This movie is so bad. It's so bad. It makes so little sense.
I got to see it now. It's on Netflix?
Yeah, it's one of those tropey things of, oh, I'm the nerdy romantic girl who's in love with this guy and he's never even noticed me. And it's Lindsay Lohan. We're like, yeah, no one's noticed you, babe. And she makes a wish and now she's the one who's engaged to him. And oh my gosh, it's amazing. But what if they're not meant to be together? It's terrible. It's a horrible movie.
Sounds like a
There's like a
Hallmark
saint
movie.
in it. It's weird.
You know what it sounds like to me a little bit?
What?
What was that totally horrible movie? It was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, with the girl, the redhead girl from Riverdale, and the guy who played Aladdin in the Aladdin movie. And remember, it's like,
Oh my god, that
he's
was on my worst movies list then.
Oh,
I can't even
that
remember
year.
it.
Yeah, I can't
it
even
was a
remember the name of
freebie
it. That was
movie. It
horrible.
hideous. That movie was awful. And then I have Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2 on here because, dear God, I had to suffer through both of those. Even Logan admitted that Part 2 was trash. Even
No.
Logan Peets hates Rebel Moon Part 2. He is
Wow.
still very excited to watch the director's cut of it.
Oh my god.
I know. He's so nice and cute, guys. He's
He's
really
so
nice, and cute
and
and funny.
cute.
His taste in movies is questionable. But man, those are mine.
Jonathan, you got any that really stand out to
I
you?
mean,
that
these
would-
all hit. Pretty much the same for
Yeah.
everybody. Unfortunately, I haven't seen The Crow yet, so I don't know if that would have made my list.
I did get around to seeing it.
Okay.
Not good.
So is that like your number?
But,
Would
but
that be
not
like?
up- no, not on my list.
Okay.
Not a good movie. Not a good movie, but like the violence was hyper. It was impressive choreography, and the violence was definitely grimmer and darker. But overall, not a good movie. But I don't include it on my list. I didn't think it was that awful. Not
Yeah.
good, but not that
Well,
awful.
the good news is we still have a few more months of this year to add more to the list. So don't
Yeah.
get
Some people are mentioning Long Legs. There are people who loved Long
Yeah.
Legs, loved it. I did not, but I didn't. But I thought it was interesting enough that it wouldn't make this list.
Yeah, because it wasn't like, I wouldn't say it was poorly executed, poorly acted. It wasn't like, oh my god, these scenes are okay. These movies that you guys listed, I literally was almost like blushing or sweating because I was like embarrassed that I was watching it. You know what I mean? Like where you
The
start to like
secondhand
feel like
cringe.
shame,
Yeah.
like I'm embarrassed and no one's even around. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Ah.
that's what they ensue.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. We are 2/3 the way through the movie year now. We're heading into that final stretch where a lot of the award season movies are going to come out. And as a result, next week, we're going to talk what we think are the best movies so far. Because again, a lot of the big Oscar films usually come out in this next window of the year. So we'll talk about that next week. But what do you think have been the worst films you've seen in theaters this year? Or heck, even on streaming? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to move on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second to thank another sponsor of today's episode, our friends at BetterHelp. We want to thank a sponsor of today's episode, BetterHelp. You know, guys, it's one of the most unfortunate human tendencies that we have to try to compare our life to others. And social media plays a big part of that. Comparison is like the thief of joy, and it's easy to envy other people's lives because on the surface, it might look like they have it all together on their Instagram or YouTube, but in reality, they probably don't. Therapy can help you focus on what you want instead of what others have, so you can start living your best life. Give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today and get 10% off your first month. Producer Jonathan Voico, ladies and
My
gentlemen.
thumb as I went to
Always
reach.
on sharp, as
Listen,
ready to
on
go.
Wednesday he was told he's not getting a raise, and he was like, "Well, why?"
As I reached over, my thumb like grazed one of the buttons. It just went to a different.
The joys of doing a show live. All right, guys, that down. Let's move over to your live questions, provided Jonathan hasn't
That's
lost
this
them.
shot right here.
Woo!
Jonathan, what we got up first?
Okay, Coolio Ray Curly. Think RDJ would have been cast or even considered as Doom if he never played Iron Man? Also, I wonder if the character of Doom will appear at all after Secret Wars by any other actor, or will the MCU's Doom storyline end with RDJ?
I mean, no. I mean, clearly, the fact that he looks like Tony Stark is going to play a part of the story. Not that he is Tony Stark or acts anything like Tony Stark or whatever, but the fact that he looks like Tony Stark is clearly a key thing to the story, which ultimately makes him the only choice to play Doom. Hence, had he not been in the MCU already, no, he wouldn't have been cast to play Doom because their story requires Doom to look like Tony Stark. For whatever reason, we don't know why, but I'm sure it's a pretty damn good one because that's all these guys have ever done. Like this group of people, guys, I got to keep reminding you, this is the team that made Civil War, Winter Soldier, Infinity War, and Endgame. If they say they've got a good idea for the story, I'm sorry for the naysayers. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to listen to them until we get proved otherwise. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Audrey P says Mufasa and Sonic come out the same weekend. Chris is very aware. Can we get another Barbenheimer situation? I feel that Mufasa and Scar coming across as optimistic best buds in the trailer contrast with Sonic 3's trailer.
Hashtag Shadow King.
I think...
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that.
Look, are we going to get like $200 million openings? No. But if they do end up coming out on the same weekend, and I think that's still in question, we could get a weekend with two very big openings for both of them. Now, I'm sorry to everybody. I'm sorry, but Mufasa is going to make more money than Sonic. I'm not saying it's going to be a better movie. Well, it will be a better movie than Sonic because Barry Jenkins is directing it. I just trust Barry Jenkins a lot more. But I think Sonic is going to be awesome. I think Sonic is going to be... I cannot wait. I love the first two Sonic movies. Can't wait. I think they can both be very, very big. But yeah, guy, sorry, Mufasa is going to be the bigger film. It will be. Better is up for debate, but it will be the bigger film. All right, what's next?
We got Oh My Josh, one of two. Hi, John and crew. I second yesterday's recommendation of Kevin Could Go F himself. The show is shot two ways, classic sitcom about a husband and his crazy antics, and switches tones to a drama about how it mentally taxes his wife. Brilliant show. It's amazing how it weaves between both so seamlessly. As it goes on, you start to see more character problems as they transfer over to the drama side. The actress who plays Alexis from Schitt's Creek is the main character.
Yeah, and by the way, Emmy Award-winning actress from Schitt's. Remember, everybody won from Schitt's Creek, right?
Yeah.
Just a reminder, it made Emmy history. For any of you guys who have not watched Schitt's Creek, it's one of the greatest things you can sit down and watch. But in its final year, it swept the Emmys. It won Best Show, Best Director, Best Writing, Best Lead Actor, Best Lead Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress. It won everything. It's absolutely incredible. Have you seen this show?
I have. It is done really well. It's kind of wild, honestly, because you'll have that laugh track going and everyone's about to exit off sitcom style, and then it just kind of slam cuts into a very different lighting, different camera style, everything. And it's such a immense tonal shift, and it's done really, really beautifully.
Huh.
All right.
So innovative.
What's next?
Michael Jones with a $20 tip.
Thank you, man, for supporting us on that level.
Chris, when John asked you why you think Sonic 3 will make $1 billion, and you said it has no competition, it's opening against Mufasa. Last Lion King made over 1.6, but it's the movie Inside Out is chasing even it. Mufasa only makes half that. Is 800.
Michael Jones, thank you very much for your $20 tip. I know these facts and figures. I just don't care. I don't care about it because in my gut, I go, why are we watching a Mufasa movie? Amy Newman's on board with me about this too. She had a rant about it the other day and I was like, I'm not alone. It's not a movie for me. I love that you guys are excited about it. I understand that the previous Lion King made buttloads of money and is the one to chase. It's just one of those things for me where I go, Sonic is much more interesting to me. Shadow's coming into play. I don't give two farts about Mufasa.
Here's the funny thing. I've been getting a lot of people writing to me like, John just doesn't understand how popular Shadow is. Guys, that's an idiotic thing to say. Here's why. Are you saying that Shadow is so popular that there were tons of people said, no, I'm not going to go see Sonic 1 or 2 because it doesn't have Shadow. And that they all just stayed away? They all just stayed away. They didn't go to see the Sonic movies because Shadow wasn't in it. But now that Shadow's in it, it's going to triple the box office of the last one? That's ridiculous. That's completely ridiculous. So anyway, again, not trying to undercut how popular Shadow of a character is in Sonic's franchise. I'm just saying you'll have a very hard time convincing anybody that there is $600 million worth of people who said, no, I'm not interested in a Sonic movie unless Shadow's in it. And now they're all going to come running out of the woodwork. Again, listen, I can't wait to see Sonic 3. I think its box office trajectory will continue to go up. I think it will make more money than the last Sonic movie did. But again, never in history has a third film in a franchise made nearly triple what the second movie in a franchise has done. It's never happened. It won't ever. Sonic is not going to go from $400 million of a second film to $1 billion in its third. And went up 100 million from the first film to the second film. And I think it'll go up another 100 to 200 million from the second to the third. It's not going to go up 600 or 700 million to this third film. It's just not. Anyway, but now that leaves open, will Mufasa, because like as you pointed out, even if Mufasa drops in half, 50% of what the first one made, it still makes $800 million, and that still beats Sonic 2, or Sonic 3, I mean. But maybe nobody will go to see Mufasa. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. All right, what's next?
Ober-Wan Canobert says July 25th or July of 2025 is shaping up to be incredibly stacked month. Jurassic World on the 2nd, Superman on the 11th, Fantastic Four on the 25th. Assuming they all have equally awesome trailers, which do you predict will have the biggest opening weekend? Probably Jurassic.
Jurassic.
It has the established audience.
It's my least anticipated one of the three. My most anticipated out of the three are number 1, Superman, number 2, Fantastic Four, and then last is Jurassic. But even the crappiest Jurassic movies in the last decade have made $1 billion. I don't think Fantastic Four is going to make $1 billion. I certainly don't think Superman's going to make $1 billion. So yeah, I hate saying it because it's my least anticipated out of all, but probably Jurassic. All right, what's next?
Julia Goodwin says, I really enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine. One thing I wish is that Deadpool, when going into different dimensions to find Wolverine, went into a world where Wolverine in the suit as P.T. Barnum. And that's how we got the greatest show. Also love the Music Man reference.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, give me 1 second to pull this up. But if you remember in Deadpool and Wolverine, when the Deadpool core comes flooding into his reality, into his world, in the one of the members of the Deadpool core was indeed, let me see if I can get this on screen here. Was indeed, there we go.
Oh yeah.
One of the Deadpools was a Greatest Showman Deadpool. So, I mean, here's the thing. In the movie, when he was going around, he was going to literal comic book versions of Wolverine. You had the Patch Wolverine, obviously Short Wolverine. You had the Age of Apocalypse Wolverine, on and on. I don't know which version the Calverine was, but all of them were like literal Wolverines from the comic book. So that wouldn't have been a fit to have him in a P.T. Barnum thing, but I do love that in the movie they still put him in there, even if it was just as a member of the Deadpool core. All right, what's next?
Julia Goodwin says, I watched George C. Scott's Patton for the first time.
So good.
And really appreciated it. George C. Scott was so underrated. I wonder if the movie would be received well if they remade it for a modern audience with a similarly underrated Shakespearean trained actor.
I haven't seen it in at least 20 years. But George C. Scott was like, he was one of those guys that you stopped playing solitaire on your computer when he walked in the room. Like George C. Scott just like had such a commanding presence. And wasn't he also in the original Firestarter with Drew Barrymore? I think that was George C. Scott in that one, dude. But that Patton one was a career-defining thing. Like I said, it's been at least 20 years since I've seen it, but he was awesome in that.
He was Absolutely in Firestarter.
Awesome. He was the guy in Firestarter. That's
and
right.
he was Ebenezer Scrooge in a 1984
He was. He did a good Scrooge.
Yeah.
He just had such a commanding voice.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have commercials from it from the VHS of my old Christmas specials that my dad gave me.
All right, what's next?
We got Johnny Hockey, rest in peace, Johnny. With his Gaudreau of the Columbus Blue Jackets, died yesterday with his brother Matthew while cycling when a car struck them. Only 31. He always impressed me on the international stage when my country Finland played against Team USA.
It was so heartbreaking. He's an all-star, scored over 700 points in his career, and they were getting together for their sister's wedding. Their sister's wedding was today. And from what I understand, they were out cycling off on the shoulder of the road, and some guy who had been drinking, according to the reports, decided that the traffic was going too slow. And so he pulled off to the side to pass the cars where the guys were riding their bikes, and they died. I have zero tolerance for people who drink and drive. Zero tolerance. You deserve to be thrown in jail and gang raped. You deserve to be face fucked with a baseball bat. I have zero tolerance, zero empathy, zero anything for people who drink and drive. There is nothing more avoidable. When you hit somebody when you're drinking and driving, it's not a car accident. It wasn't a fucking accident that you decided that you just had to have another shot and you couldn't bother to take an Uber. That's not an accident. You fucking chose to get behind the wheel of a car. My life has been impacted by people I love who've been hit by drunk drivers. Probably a lot of you guys have too. I have zero fucking tolerance for it. You are a fucking piece of shit if you drink alcohol and they get behind the wheel of a car. Am I being at all obscure about that? Like, there's no excuse for it. It's not an accident. It's a fucking choice. And now more lives have been destroyed. Now more lives have been destroyed. And this poor fucking girl, the night before her wedding, her brothers die because some asshole couldn't fucking call an Uber. Fuck you. Anyway. All right. What's next?
We got Jared Oberfeld, who kind of echoes the same thing about Gaudreau, but then says, I've been watching Terminator Zero. It's good. Netflix needs to market the show better. Netflix doesn't market anything.
No, they're not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's the problem. You wouldn't know.
No, there's so many shows that come out. Like, how many times over the years has somebody, hey, John, have you seen this in Netflix? I'm like, I've never even heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on Netflix a lot, and
Yeah.
I've never heard of it. So yeah, it's just, they got to get better at that. I don't know how. I don't have the answers for them, but listen, you're a multi-billion-dollar company. Maybe start buying some advertising. I don't know. All right, what's next?
Mr. Menace to Society with a $20 tip. And it's
Thank you, Mr. Mass. Appreciate that, dude.
It's a two-parter, yeah. Hi, John and wonderful crew. I'm excited for the Beetlejuice sequel since I'm a big fan of the original. Question, if Beetlejuice is a massive success, do you think we can see a sequel to another one of Tim Burton's classic films? Edward Scissorhands from 1990. It appears there's a resurgence for Tim Burton and Johnny Depp needs to come back. Do you see an Edward Scissorhands sequel if the Beetlejuice sequel is a massive hit? And will the Scissorhands sequel aid Johnny Depp?
One has nothing to do with the other.
Yeah. You could always recast it. You didn't even have to have Johnny Depp.
I mean, look, just because Beetlejuice, like, here's the thing. It's always surprising to me, like, when a movie's a hit, people find some other movie that's some obscure, like, not really connected, but some kind of obscure connection. Go, well, if this is it, do you think they can do this one? It's like, no, Beetlejuice is a really different thing. I don't think there would really be much interest in another Edward Scissorhands today. Plus, I mean, look, fair or unfair, right or wrong, there's not many studios that want to work with Johnny Depp. It has nothing to do with his divorce drama with Amber Heard. I mean, there were studios were stopping wanting to work with Johnny Depp prior to all of that. So, no, I really don't see that happening. Chris, you have a thought on that? Because you kind of made a bit of a face.
Well, because I love that movie, and it's just but the ending of it.
It's a great movie.
I don't think you tell more.
It's
of
Shakespearean.
That story. Exactly.
And it's just like, yeah, I mean, you could, there's always, where there's a will, there's a way. You could always, but it's like, that was more of a tragedy. And it's not, like with Beetlejuice, like, he wasn't defeated. He was just sent away, and he could always come back.
And
you know what I mean?
With Lydia dancing with ghosts.
Yeah.
You know, there's still fun to be had there. Edward Scissorhands has a very beautifully tragic ending that I think you leave alone.
You know what? He
It's
should
a
do
sad
more
fairy
Alice in
tale.
Wonderland. Yeah, that's what he should do.
No.
All right,
out.
what's next?
The Great Hambino with a $20 tip.
Thank you, Hambino. Appreciate that, man.
Hey guys, longtime fan from AMC days. Recently rewatched the Collider rewatch along with the Star Wars prequels with Dennis, Harloff, and Schnepp. That goes back a while. Good times. Just got done rewatching SOA and didn't hold up to my liking like it had previously. Same for you?
Oh, I've rewatched it twice. I've done I've watched the entire Sons of Anarchy series 3 times. It gets better for me. It's my number 2 favorite show of all time. Number 2 favorite show of all time. I absolutely love that show. It does hold up for me. Yeah, I still remember when we did those watch-alongs. Those are a lot of fun. They took a lot of time, and
Yeah.
you had to have a lot of people who had free time and were available. But I mean, those were fun to do when we did them back in the day.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, anyone else notice Variety's weird hatred toward Marvel lately? They've gone on and on about Marvel going downhill, but now that Deadpool 3 is successful, they're acting like it's a bad thing. Variety is like Grace Randolph, and Marvel is their Jessica Chastain.
No, I've always found Variety to be fairly reasonable and fairly. But listen, I'm a big Marvel fan, but I have said very clearly on this channel for the last couple of years that they have been in decline. They've certainly had a few big wins here and there, but overall, the quality level of the MCU is not nearly as high as what it was in the previous number of phases. And I say this as a fan. Now, the narrative is changing with the big success of Deadpool and Wolverine, the big presentations at D23 and Comic-Con. Yeah, the conversation has changed, the narrative changed, yes. But we still need to see some more wins lined up. So, no, I think personally Variety's been pretty fair. A little harsh sometimes, sure, but fair nonetheless. Anyway, that's how I've interpreted them. All right, what's next?
Matan says, a question for Chris. What is your opinion on British voice actors in anime and JRPG? Is Xenoblade opening new doors? Are you afraid that the Redcoats are going to took your job?
They took our jobs.
Yeah.
No. There's room for everybody in voiceover.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody else is cast in something, they're not taking a role away from me. There's room for all of us at the table. I just am going to find a different seat. Somebody might be better suited for something than I am. One of the issues I know that comes up sometimes is people asking for authentic dialects. And that is something that sometimes I think is a little silly of, well, okay, I mean, the entire cast of Walking Dead for the most part was English. They all were doing, Georgian dialects.
Yeah.
I can do an RP accent. I can do Scottish really well. I can do those things. I'm fine with them doing these things, though. More merrier.
You know, one of the funniest comments I heard about Deadpool and Wolverine?
What?
The guy who plays Paradox. Someone said, his fake accent bothered me. That's his real speaking voice. But no, I saw him in Succession. No, he was faking an American accent in Succession.
Yeah.
What you heard in Deadpool and Wolverine is his real speaking voice.
Oh, dang.
I know that always throws me for he's in Billions. He was in Band of Brothers, Red Hair. Damian Lewis, or
Yes, I think that's correct.
because the first time I ever saw him was Band of Brothers.
Yep.
So then when I heard him again, I'm like,
Oh yeah, he was in the Claire Danes show too. The big, massive Claire Danes. Homeland.
yes,
There we go.
Homeland.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's in
yeah.
Homeland, too.
So when I hear him speaking his native accent, I'm like,
Yeah.
this does not compute in my brain.
Right.
You know what it reminds me of too? The guy who said like, man, I can't stand his fake accent in Deadpool and Wolverine. And that's his real one. I can't remember if I brought this up, but I did an open mic a couple of weeks ago. It was just before Deadpool and Wolverine opened. And somebody was still insisting that Deadpool was not going to do well financially. And they were like, this movie is going to take like a 70% drop at the box office from week 1 to week 2. It's not another Spider-Man No Way Home. It's going to take like a 70% box office. To which I just started laughing hysterically. And they're like, people are like, what are you laughing? I'm like, you're just saying this is going to take a 70% drop off. It's no Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home did take a 70% drop at the box office from week 1 to week 2. It is specifically the exact same. Anyway, that's just reminded me of that a little bit. All right, what's next?
Tron says worst films of 2024 so far in no particular order: Kung Fu Panda, Argyle, Beekeeper, Tarot, Jackpot, Madam Web, Ricky Stenicki, Ghostbusters, and Borderlands. Which is the worst movie of the year?
You know, if we were including streaming only movies, Ricky Stenicki would have at least had to have been in consideration. That's another movie that I thought was going to be so good. I thought the trailers were hilarious. I'm a big Zac Efron fan. I really like John Cena. William H. Macy's in it. And that was a stinker. So if I was including streaming ones, that one would have had to have been. You know what? I did not hate Beekeeper. because for what it is, the action was pretty great. And I just like the idea of certain people getting what's coming to them. Was it a good movie? No, but I wouldn't have put it on my worst list. All right, what's next?
Ray Delatrap says, how long do you think we'll wait for the MCU's iteration of Dark Phoenix when they formally introduce the X-Men? I know they've already tried it twice, but technically they've attempted Doom twice too, and eager to try again. Thanks, bring on the filthy.
There's a difference between Doom and Dark Phoenix. Doom is a character. Dark Phoenix is a storyline about one of the characters. I honestly don't expect to see them do Dark Phoenix for a long time. There are so many rich X-Men stories that you can do. And like you said, they've already taken 2 swings at the Dark Phoenix story just in the last number of years. I don't see them doing it. I mean, I think they'll eventually get around to it, but I don't see in the next 5, 6, 7 years. I don't know. Chris, what do you think?
I'm so bored of the Phoenix saga. I really don't want it.
Yeah.
Jean Grey, also hot take. Jean Grey's not a fun character. She's problematic. I don't like her very much. Explore some other X-Men.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Gen Y Unite says, John, Beetlejuice 2 will smash expectations. You underestimate the goth, emo, horror. I don't know. When he said underestimate, the Vader came out.
Yeah.
Of my millennial generation, and we've been training Gen Z in our fanatic ways too. Tim Burton is our Marvel Jesus, LOL. Miss Gen Y. Chris, you need to let John know the deal. You need to let John know the deal.
Okay,
Well,
first
I'm
of
not
all,
Gen Y, I'm a millennial.
you're saying that it's going to smash expectations.
Hulk
So what are you
smash.
saying? You're saying it's going to make $200 million opening week? Because right now
Yes.
expectations are about $100 million. So you're saying it's going to smash that? Okay. All
John,
right.
$1 billion movie.
It's going to make $1 billion opening weekend. Yeah, so I don't know what
Preview
you
night,
mean.
$1 billion.
Oh yeah, there you go. Thursday night.
I don't know
$1
what
billion.
you mean by saying it's going to smash expectations when it's the expectations right now
Oh, they are
around
smashed.
90 to $100 million.
That's smashed.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see.
Because
We'll
I
see.
thought 40.
All right, what's
Bri-
next?
Brian O'Connor says, I just can't hate any film that has Kate Blanchett wielding guns, shooting things. I'm an easy lay.
Listen, I'll tell you what.
You're allowed to like anything you want.
I have said there are things to like in Borderlands. And like there's a scene in Borderlands where guys are just trying to come into a bar and talk to her, and she just murders them just because they won't leave her alone. And she starts, you know what? I love that scene. I really did. I mean, the movie's bad, but I mean, yeah, Kate Blanchett, she walked into a role that is for somebody who's probably 25 years younger. And she made it her role. Because that's what one of the greatest actresses of all time does. It was not enough to save that movie, though. It was definitely not enough to save that movie. All right, what's next?
We're on to our members now. King Daddy Goat says, hey, John and crew, hope everyone's doing okay today. I've been watching Bad Monkey on Apple TV. I wasn't really interested at first, but decided to check it out. Really glad I did. It's a funny, crazy show with Vince Vaughn and Peter Dinklage, and I just wanted to put it in your radar. Thanks, Bring on the Filthy. It's on my radar.
I'll tell you what. I love Vince Vaughn. I love Vince Vaughn. I think he's incredibly not all of his things. What was that one? The Internship or something he did with
where they were at
Owen
Google?
Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that was not so good and whatever. But like he has starred in a couple of what I think are the funniest movies of all time. Like I love Dodgeball. Absolutely love Dodgeball. Wedding Crashers is like probably a top 5 favorite comedy of mine of all time. And I just think the dude, he came in and hung out in our office one time with him and Chris Pratt came into our office. And let me see if I can, bring this up. That's Chris Pratt and Vince Vaughn with my wife, Ann. So they came into my office because they were promoting this movie they were doing called The Delivery Man, where I guess Vince Vaughn played a guy who like was a sperm donor, but they used the sperm to make like 200 children. And like they all found, and then his name got out. So there were some public records. Anyway, so these two guys came into our office literally for like 3 or 4 hours one day. And they hung out to do an interview with us. And then they just asked if they could stay in our office to do a Twitter live Q&A. And we said, yeah. And they just hung out with us all day. And here's one of the reasons I will always, I will do anything Vince Vaughn If Vince Vaughn ever asks a favor of me, I'll do it. And here's why. So Ann and Chris and Vince hung out a good part of that day. Now, fast forward a couple of years later. Okay? Couple of years later. Ann is the political field rep for a local congresswoman. All right? One of the California congresswomen. And she's at a conference. And they're at this, I think it was in Santa Monica. And they're at this conference in Santa Monica. And Ann is standing with other people in her staff in this foyer of this hotel in Santa Monica. And out of nowhere, she hears his voice, Ann. She turns around and it's Vince Vaughn. And he walks up to her and goes, how are you doing? Now, here's the thing to it, though. Ann was like, I was a rock star in front of my other staff mates. They all thought I was some huge rock star. They were all like, oh, that Vince Vaughn came over. And because of that, I will always have Vince Vaughn's back no matter what. And because of that, I've heard nothing but good things about this
Bad Monkey
Monkey
it's
show.
so good.
Because it didn't look all that good to me.
It's great.
Are you, so you've been watching
I
it?
love it.
Are you all caught up on it? Or
I am. I really, really enjoy it.
everybody is saying it's really good.
It has one of the best reveals a show has done in a while for me. Because, we're a house divided where Logan suspends his disbelief for everything. And I immediately lean over 5 minutes into something and go, that's the killer. Or something of that nature. And this is one where both of us have been like, oh my God, what? This is great. It's really fun, really sharp writing. And it's Vince Vaughn doing what he does best, those great quippy one-liners. He's so likable. It's a really great show. I think everyone should give it a shot.
I am absolutely going to try. Because, again, I didn't think the trailers looked all that good, but everybody's been saying it's really awesome. And now that you've given it the stamp of the Denisio approval,
Yeah.
I am
You don't
definitely
even need to be Denisio drunk.
I can't wait to watch
You can
it.
be
You can just do it.
sober as a car.
And it's an Apple TV Plus show,
Yeah.
right?
It is.
Again, they just keep cranking them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right, Joel Checky. Watch The Instigators, Matt Damon and Casey Affleck's new movie on Apple TV Plus. So this is a movie, so I wasn't sure if Instigators was a show.
Yeah, it was a movie.
Okay. Best movie of the year? No. However, I definitely had a good time with it. Great sporting cast. Hong Chow, Ron Perlman, Alfred Molina, Toby Jones, Ving Rhames, Paul Walter Hauser.
He's in
It was
everything.
in everything. I was very excited to see it when I heard about it. And unlike Monkey Man,
Yeah.
I have not heard good things about The Instigator.
Me neither.
And I love Casey Affleck as
I
an
did
actor.
not like the trailer for
I
it.
love Matt Damon, obviously. But I was like, I like them too much to watch a movie that I'm hearing is bad. And so I'm glad you seem to like it. But yeah.
That's the whole-
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the trailer. I'm like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a couple more, then
All
we'll
right.
call it a day.
John says, hey, John and crew, thank you for all you do. Buy, Sell, Nobody 2 is past its time for a second one. Do you think anyone will go see it? I enjoyed the first one, so my excitement is there.
Oh, nobody's.
This
a
isn't
great
like it's
movie.
12 years.
It's not that old.
No,
Yeah.
wasn't it like 4?
It was right
years
coming out of
ago?
I'm
the
bringing it up.
pandemic.
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so
20
no. Now listen, you also got to understand what part of the reason I was thrilled to hear that it's getting a sequel,
Mm-hmm.
but I was also surprised because it's not like it blew up the box
No.
office. Like, oh, Jonathan, can you look up how much Nobody made at the
Oh, I
box?
just
But
had it. Yeah.
It was not a lot. I mean, the
57 mil.
57
worldwide.
million. It didn't make a lot of money,
Yeah. Budget was
But-
16 though.
but the budget was 16. And if they
There you
can
go.
keep the budget to 20, I think the second one will, I'm not saying it's going to be a $200 million movie, but I think the second one will make more than the first one did. And it hasn't actually been that long. So did you ever get around to seeing Nobody?
I did.
What
I
did
really
you think about
liked
it?
It's great. Oh, I love Bob Odenkirk. I think Bob Odenkirk's great.
Yeah.
And that movie is fantastic, wildly violent.
Yeah.
And I wasn't fully prepared for it, but man, it's a good film.
Well, it's on the
fun.
like level of John Wick kind of same creators.
When
right?
I just didn't think that that was what it was going to be going into it,
Yeah.
and now I want the two of them to.
I know, I keep
intertwine and-
thinking.
Yeah.
You know what the difference between Nobody and John Wick, the first John Wick, was? And I've kind of alluded to this before. It's like in Nobody, it almost got to the point where I started to feel bad for the bad guys. Like, especially like at the end, like, I'm just burning all your money. Like the bad guy's like trying to reach out and say, look, let's come to some kind of an agreement. Let's make a parlay. And Bob Odenkirk's like, nah, I'm just going to burn all your money no matter what. And like, I kind of feel bad for him. You know why? Because they didn't kill anybody's puppy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference.
Exactly.
That's why I always say one of the most brilliant devices I've ever seen used in a movie was having that guy kill that puppy in the first movie. Because no matter what unspeakable, ungodly, unholy violence John Wick visited upon these people, you never once felt bad for them. You know why? Not because they stole his car.
Because they killed Daisy, a precious angel baby. I would burn the world for that dog.
Yep, and that's the difference.
I
That's
love her
why
so much.
everybody would get on board with every murder John Wick would commit. Everybody's like, justified.
Yeah.
Justified.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Guys, have a fabulous weekend. I'm going to put up a video of our experience going to this Marvel Infinity War in
please do.
concert the next couple of
Yeah.
nights. I cannot wait to put that up. We look forward to seeing you, and I want to thank the people in the room with me. Jonathan Voico,
Hello and goodbye.
Chris Carr.
Bye, guys.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.